Hello, my name is Captain Eric Barbo, and today I want to educate you, the City Council, on fire code enforcement and the importance of that within our community to keep our citizens safe while they occupy some of the buildings in our community. I just want to start out by saying this is why codes are important. If you look back over history, there's been a lot of fires that have caused great devastation and a lot of fatalities due to poor preparation of buildings that they're occupying being destroyed by fire. Things that kind of come into mind when we're going to talk about what caused these tragedies were pretty much the lack of alarm systems to notify people of a fire, lack of fire suppression systems, which hopefully, if they were there, would have caught the fire and kept it smaller and allowed people more time to escape. And the last thing there that probably causes a lot of issues are an inadequate number of exits within buildings with safe routes of egress. When we start talking about code enforcement, I just want to really quick just talk about the 3 E's of fire code enforcement, which are engineering, education, and lastly, enforcement. Engineering, for some examples of engineering, would be materials used to build these buildings that are occupied by people. Engineering controls that we put in there are also fire protection systems, like alarm systems to notify people of fires. Fire suppression systems like sprinkler systems, for example, give people the time to find safe egress that are marked and get out of the building, hopefully without being injured or ultimately succumb to smoke or anything like that. Education is one of those pieces of the 3 E's that an example of that would be just informing the public on ways to have safety within their occupancies, to be safe and have safe practices so that fires don't occur. So let's educate people on how to prevent fires from starting in the first place. If you look at some of these places where we have high occupancies, like in a workplace or something like that, some things that we can educate people on are having a plan in place. So if a fire does happen at their place of work, they have plans on egress and especially a meeting pace so they can count for all the people that were at work that day. So as the fire department showing up here, we know that we know if everybody is accounted for, or if we have to go to work and try to find somebody that could potentially be stuck in the structure. Other things that we can do to educate the public is the use of fire extinguishers within their workplace as well. We can go out and educate people on catching those fires in the in the imminent stage, where if we can put it out before it becomes a big problem, we can educate people how to do that with a fire extinguisher. And lastly, what I want to talk to you about today, kind of where we come in here, is going to be the enforcement phase of the codes, the building codes and fire codes. This really involves the fire crews on the streets getting out and actually getting into these buildings and checking them out top to bottom to make sure that they're falling into accordance with what the fire code says needs to be in place, like as far as alarm systems, fire extinguishers, exits, making sure that they're not blocked, making sure that they're illuminated and marked as exits so people within that building know which way is out. It really comes down to accountability as well. So if they get violations or something like that too, we can enforce those violations through our fire bureau department, where they can actually go out and make these people make these changes to keep their business and their occupancy safe for the people that visit them or work in those places. Here in Billings, we are in the state of Montana, obviously. The state of Montana adopted the International Fire Code 2021 edition back in March of 2023. Basically, from the state, their directive is to the authority having jurisdiction in the area, they're required to follow suit and adapt that IFC 2021 edition. Here in Billings, we adopted the IFC 2021 edition in November of 2024, and that basically falls under the Fire Prevention Bureau within the Billings Fire Department to go out and make sure that people within our community are adhering to the codes set forth in the IFC 2021 edition. When it comes down to enforcing codes in new construction and existing buildings out there right now, it kind of falls, we'll start with the existing structures. That's going to fall underneath the suppression crews and the fire investigation of the Fire Bureau Department of the Billings Fire Department. They're going to go out, they're going to look at these buildings to make sure that the codes that are in place on IFC 2021 are being followed by these occupancies that are out there currently. When it comes down to new construction, the planning department here at Billings, Montana, kind of looks at the plans through the planning department, and they use the International Building Code. That's what's regulating how these structures within our community are being built. Pretty much that goes over the entire building process outside of fire department access and water supply, which once it passes plan review and inspections by code enforcement through the building department, then it kind of falls onto the Fire Bureau's lap to ensure that the fire code is then being followed by the people who will occupy that occupancy. They get a certificate of occupancy, certification provided to them, and then that furthermore, going into fire protection and stuff for that after that planning phase is going to fall under the ICF 2021 code, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. And like I say, that's kind of regulated by the City of Billings Building Department. When it comes to the materials that they're allowing to be used within those buildings, they're following that International Building Code that has provided a list of UL listings to ensure all the materials that are going into those buildings are falling underneath that building code to protect it from fire. Recently, this is a good example of kind of like some of the trouble problems, some of the areas that we have had here in Billings recently. I know COVID hit us pretty hard, just like it did everybody else around the country, and it kind of gave us a little bit of a gap in our inspection practices, which was done by the suppression crews. So we really haven't been out there a whole lot since 2020 doing these business inspections. Recently they found a hotel, which we got introduced to because there was actually a fire in it. It was a small fire within one of the rooms. Filled it up with smoke down the hallway. People saw that, they called 911. But the big problem here was the fire alarm did not sound to let the people within that hotel know that there was a problem. Fire Investigation Bureau went in there and they looked at it and they found that the alarm system was not functioning properly, had a whole bunch of trouble alarms on it that were not addressed by the management of the hotel, and noticed that the alarm system had not been serviced since 2020. So that kind of caused a big problem. The person who owns that hotel also owned 5 other hotels within town. Well, I guess a total of 5 hotels in town, and they found that 3 of the 5 had malfunctioning alarm systems in them. So that kind of became an enforcement issue where they were put on fire watch and given a violation by the Fire Bureau, and had a timeline to get that addressed and fixed. As far as I know, they are off of fire watch at this point because their alarm systems have been maintained. They received the maintenance and maintained them the way they needed to, and they are currently functioning properly. When you look at the type of buildings around Billings, Montana, that is going to cause us the most problems as far as code enforcement and just keeping everybody that's inside those buildings safe, is going to be your Type 5 construction, your wood frame construction. Especially when we're talking about these large structures with the multi-living models, the apartments, those kind of things. The thing that's really sketchy about these buildings, obviously, is they're built well, but they're made out of materials that are all combustible. So fire protection within these buildings is paramount for the safety of the occupants inside the building. These buildings are brought up in plan review and the fire department gets a hold of them as far as the Fire Bureau for the fire. approval side of things. Obviously, fire suppression, alarm systems, fire stops, exhaust fans, smoke doors, all those kind of things fall into these structures to hopefully compartmentalize fire and keep it in one area of the building and allowing people time to get out of the building to a safe area. The plan review is really what it comes down to confirm that the code requires and fire protection systems are added to these buildings. And like I say, after the building department gets these plans approved for construction, that's when it comes to our Fire Bureau department for these fire prevention systems and whatnot to be added to the building to make sure that we're meeting the IFC 2021 edition. Big things are, we want to make sure that the alarm systems are in place. There is suppression systems within. We have fire barriers in between some of these different types of occupancies within these buildings. So if there is a fire, you know, we can hopefully contain it to one part of the building and it won't affect the other parts. Of course, like, you know, your smoke doors and stuff like that, allowing multiple exits for the occupants to get out of the building. So finding that closest exit to get out safely. And then just any other miscellaneous life safety requirements that may come along. Those will be put into those plans as we develop them and approve them. Once the building is completed, the Fire Bureau is actually going to go out into these buildings and perform a final assessment or inspection, excuse me, of these structures to ensure that all the proper life safety amenities have been put into the building to ensure that they are falling within that code. So that's kind of some of the stuff and kind of how it works around here in Billings, Montana. I hope that this has been informative to you guys, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Thank you for your time.